What's up guys, MTG of MTG Reviews, and I'm back with another premium quality car review. And on today's review, we're taking a look at one of the most prominent Chinese car brands in South Africa, Haval with the Haval H6. The one that we have here for our review is the front wheel drive 2.0 turbo petrol luxury spec. And for this one, we are in Limpopo. Stick with me throughout this video to check out its design, impressive and not so impressive features, fuel consumption, and cost of ownership. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Let's take a quick look at the European-inspired exterior design. The European look is not by coincidence, as it was designed by Phil Simmons, the very same guy who led the Land Rover design team when designing the 2013 Range Rover and the 2014 Range Rover Sport. The front fascia is fairly subtle in a good way, as it stands out, though it reminds me a lot of European SUVs. The headlights are full LED with daytime running lights and LED fog lights just under the headlights. And the dominating part of this front fascia is the grille that houses the camera under the Haval badging, and the grille design features the 3D rhombus-shaped textures on it. The overall look of the front screams premium price tag, but then you'll be surprised when we get to the price. The overall look of the front, for me, it's a solid 8.5 out of 10. The side profile complements the front look, as it has simple lines and nothing outstanding. Though I personally feel like the 18-inch sized wheels are a bit too small for my liking, as the car has a raised off-road look emphasized with the black wheel cladding. Though you can get the 19 inches, but then it's only gonna come with a super luxury spec, and you can't option the 19-inch sized wheels on this luxury spec. I'll give it an 7.5 out of 10. At the back, we have these futuristic looking full LED taillights, which are linked with the taillight strip, and there's a Haval badge under it. There's a chrome bar which houses the rear mounted camera. I honestly don't like the chrome bar, as it makes me question the placement of things back here. It breaks up the subtle design, and if it was up to me, and which it's not obviously, here's how I would have designed the back side. The back gets a 7.5 out of 10 for me, and tell me what you think in the comment section. And if I were to do a subtle but radical change, it would look like this. I think this is a 10 out of 10. Tell me what you think as well. The interior, I think, is the best looking for me thus far, though there's a price to pay for these looks, which is ease of use, but we'll get more into that when we get to the infotainment screen. On the right side, we have a mini control tab which has a headlight height adjustment control and the traction control on-off switch, and the third and the last button is the hill descent control, which allows a hill descent without any brake input from the driver. This feature is mostly used when off-roading, and it works fairly well on this car. Not that this car is built for off-roading. The steering wheel looks good and has multimedia button controls on the right side. The right side controls the gauge cluster, and the left side controls the infotainment screen. The infotainment system is jam-packed with features. It basically controls everything in here, in which I don't like. I prefer my climate controls being easy to access and use, with physical buttons rather than being embedded into the infotainment screen. And another thing which is nitpicking, but then I find the user interface font looks skinny. But most people are just gonna plug in Android Auto, in which we'll have two tabs open simultaneously, and it's actually more responsive than Apple CarPlay. And here's how Apple CarPlay looks. Unlike Android Auto, it's just one large tab open at a time. And I have to say, it really looks good on this 10.25-inch screen. And the sound system has 6 speakers, and it doesn't really sound that good. I'd say it's a 5 out of 10 for me. Under the infotainment screen, we have these cool looking, but they're not the most effective vents, as they are horizontally slim, which is not convenient as we sit vertically. I prefer Volvo style vents, as you get the full experience due to their orientation. And we have quick access buttons under the vents. The center console houses a dial electronic gear knob, which takes some time to get used to when you're used to the conventional gear selector. And we have an electronic handbrake, which should have had a light indicator to show when it's engaged or disengaged. And we have an auto hold switch. There's ample space to store things on the center console, and you can convert some storage space into cup holders. I think that's smart design, and which I really like. And we have the armrest storage as well. And check out the sunroof. The one that we have here is humongous. It's basically the whole roof of this car. I'm a big fan of this implementation. You can auto control the sunshade as well as the sunroof, though it takes some time due to its size. At the back seats have ample of space for a fully grown adult and enough head space as well. And the rear passengers get their own vents and USB ports. The middle seat backrest can be converted into an armrest with 2 cup holders, as the doors don't have cup holders. This car has a 2-liter turbo petrol engine, which all models of the H6 get. They also get the same amount of power across the board, which is a bit unusual. But this has a 2-wheel drivetrain, and the car outputs 150 kilowatts of power and 320 Newton meters of torque, which is the same as the Haval GT. The power delivery is pretty good, it drives really well, and I don't really have much complaint. When you switch it to sport mode, it holds gears and revs higher and gets a bit punchy. You have eco and snow driving modes as well. The drivetrain includes a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, and the fuel consumption is rated at 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers. But we're experiencing at around 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers. This all depends on how you drive. The fuel tank capacity is at 60 liters. The ride overall is comfy, though we didn't have adaptive cruise control. That's not a biggie because this car offers a lot for its price. Let's start with the best first. There's no volume control on the center console, only the driver can adjust through the steering wheel controls. You must have a good relationship with the driver if you want to have a nice trip. The luxury spec doesn't have an electronic tailgate. You can only get the electronic tailgate with the super luxury spec. It has some software glitches. When you open the driver's side door, it indicates that the front passenger seat is occupied even when it's not. It's hard to control its speed when parking on tight spaces, as the car takes time to respond when you remove your foot off the brake. I don't know if this is the transmission or is the engine, but then it really is annoying. Does the car look premium? Yeah, it does, but then does it feel premium? Well, no, it doesn't actually. It doesn't have that weighty feel that induces a premium product. And another thing, which might be actually a user error, we couldn't get the crash detection system to work. We were using our own dummy, and we wouldn't be able to sacrifice one of our own because you never know with this new technology stuff. It might work, it might not work. So we were using our own dummy, in which might have led to that failing. The USB port placement on the front row seat is not convenient, as they are hidden away. You have to look down to access them. And while we're talking about USB ports, we couldn't get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay to work on the driver's side USB port. Now let's get to the good part. The looks are really up there with the competitors, namely the Toyota RAV4, Hyundai Tucson, VW Tiguan, Kia Sportage, and the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro. Don't think it looks better than the CX-5, though it looks better than the RAV4 and the Tiguan. It doesn't look better than the Sportage as well, and it's a toss-up between the Haval and the Tiggo 8 Pro. It has best-in-class camera system, as it's mostly useful when you're in tight spaces so that you can avoid crashing into things. There's ample space to store things in the center console. And the boot space is good at 600 liters, and it gets up to 1485 liters with the back seats folded. And last but not least, it has a very good lane keep assist. It works very well, like you can drive hands-free, though it requires you to keep your hands on the steering wheel. Here's how it stacks up against its rivals. With all cars gear being base back with no optional extras, You can pause the video and check out which has a more attractive proposition for you, and you can tell me in the comment section. Now, getting into the interesting part of this video, let's talk funds. So the Haval H6 has a base price of 479,950 rands, and for that you get the premium spec, and it goes up to 589,950 rands. For that you get the super luxury, which is the fully loaded one. The one that we have here today is the luxury, in which is the middle ground, or you can call it the sweet spot. It's priced at 518,950 rands. So how much would it cost you monthly to own this car? Let's crunch the numbers. So if you were to get this luxury model and pay it over 6 years at an interest rate of 10.5% without deposit, the monthly estimate installment would be 9,745 rands and would go down to 8,771 rands with 10% deposit. The car has a 60-liter fuel tank capacity, and that would cost around 1,410 rands to fill up. And we have an insurance. That's an estimate of around 2,000 per month. So with all those numbers calculated, an overall month cost estimate would be around 13,155 rands without deposit. And with deposit, it would go down to 12,181 rands. So what's my take on this car? Well, as it is right now, we don't have much information on its reliability and parts availability, as it requires more time to judge and the car is fairly new into the scene. But then if you're willing to turn a blind eye on that unanswered question, considering the price tag, if you're in a market to get a good SUV, you can buy it, but then be in the know that we don't have much information about its reliability, so it remains to be seen. You might be an experiment. So that's all from me today. Catch you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment as well. Danko.